The bidding pit. The room stank of metal, oil, and old blood. Crowds filled the pit, voices loud, angry, hungry. Traders from across the stars shouted bids for weapons, creatures, and broken machines. But in the darkest corner of the auction room, hidden, under a low, flickering light, was a small, silent cage. Rain stood near the back, arms crossed. He wasn't here for slaves. He needed old tech, maybe spare thruster parts for his broken ship. But his eyes kept drifting toward the cage. Inside sat a girl. Thin, silver-skinned, barely clothed in torn cloth. Her long white hair was dirty, her wrists chained tight above her. She didn't cry, she didn't beg, she just stared forward, quiet like the grave. Lot 96, the auctioneer grinned, his teeth stained with some kind of red rot. Old model pleasure slave, barely functional, no memory, no spark. Starting at 5 credits. 5, do I hear 5? Laughter echoed from the crowd. She looks dead. 5 credits? I wouldn't pay one. Is she mute? The auctioneer slammed his cane. Silent, yes. Could be fixed if anyone cares. Probably not worth the effort. But Rain's eyes narrowed. She wasn't empty. No, there was something there in her eyes. Not fear, something deeper. 4 credits, a lizard-faced trader joked, just to laugh louder. 3, another yelled. Let's get rid of her already. The auctioneer sighed, bored. Fine. Final offer. 3 credits. Going once? Rain took a step forward. Going twice. 5, Rain said. The room went quiet. The laughter stopped. People turned to see who dared speak. The auctioneer blinked. 5 credits? Are you serious? Rain tossed a chip on the platform. Paid. Sold to the crazy human, the auctioneer muttered, then turned back to the crowd. Next. Lot 97, mutated knife bugs. Rain walked to the cage as the room moved on. A guard unlocked it, grinning. Your problem now, buddy. She didn't move, not even when the chains fell. Rain reached out a hand. You can walk? Still. Nothing. He knelt beside her. Her eyes slowly turned toward him. Why? Did you buy me? She asked in a dry, cracked voice. Rain paused. Because no one else did. Her lips trembled. You're a fool. Maybe. He helped her stand. Her legs shook. She hadn't walked in days, maybe weeks. But she didn't fall. He wrapped a cloth around her shoulders gently. Come on, let's get out of here before someone changes their mind. The hall outside the pit was even worse. Dark, crowded, the air full of smoke and low growls. Rain kept her close, one arm steady around her, but her body was cold. Too cold. On the way to his ship, she finally spoke again. You shouldn't have done it. Why? They will come for me. Rain stopped. Who? She looked up at him. And then in a whisper so soft only he could hear it, she said, I was a princess once. He stared at her. What? She shook her head. They killed my family. They erased my name. Now they sell me like garbage. Rain's heart beat faster. He looked at her again, not as a broken girl, not as a slave, but as someone important. Someone dangerous. Someone hunted. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind. Could she be lying? Was this a trick? Or worse, was it true? Before he could speak again, she collapsed in his arms. Inside the ship, Rain carried her to the med bay. He cleaned her wounds, wrapped her in warm blankets, and set her on the narrow cot. She didn't wake, but her breathing grew steady. He sat beside her, staring at her face. If she was telling the truth, then she wasn't just some slave. She was a royal, maybe even the last of her kind. And if that was true, then someone, somewhere, would kill to keep her secret buried. Rain leaned back in the chair and looked at the cold stars outside the window. He had only wanted to buy spare parts. Instead, he had bought a war. The ship hummed softly as it moved through the silent black of space. Rain sat in the cockpit staring at the empty stars ahead. but his thoughts were behind him, in the back room where the girl lay wrapped in an old blanket. He didn't even know her name. The auction papers listed her only as Unit 96. Entertainment purpose, no planet of origin, no birth record, no history. Just another ghost for sale in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. But ghosts didn't whisper that they were princesses. Rain had scanned her biometric data, hoping to find a match in the galactic systems, but nothing came up. Either her identity had been wiped clean or it had never been recorded. No papers, no proof, just those 5 haunting words. I was a princess once. He didn't know if he believed her, but something in her eyes, something sharp and shattered, made him think. Maybe he should. Hours passed before she stirred. When Rain walked in, she was sitting up slowly, her silver hair hanging in front of her face like a curtain. He handed her a cup of warm broth. She took it with both hands, holding it like it might disappear. Thank you, she whispered. You remember your name? Rain asked, sitting across from her. She nodded faintly. Zirea. That's all you remember? No, she said softly. I remember everything. Rain leaned forward. Then tell me, where are you from? What happened to you? She looked up at him. Her eyes were pale blue, nearly white like snow before sunrise. I am, or was, first daughter of the Valari royal line. My family ruled the celestial fold until the collapse. 9 years ago, the empire was destroyed. Everyone believes we died in the palace fire. But you didn't, Rain said, his voice low. They took me, she said, during the siege. They wanted my blood, not my life. So they sold me, over and over again, until even my name became dangerous to speak. Rain let her words settle, in the air like dust. The Valari Empire was once one of the most advanced in the galaxy, mysterious, rich in culture, its people known for their strange ability to manipulate bio-light through emotion and will. But the fall of Valari was brutal. Their royal city burned, their ships scattered. Rumors had spread that the family died. But now, sitting in his ship sipping soup, was a girl claiming to be the last royal survivor. But why would someone want to hide you instead of kill you? He asked. Zirea looked down at her hands. Because my blood is the key. Valari knowledge was locked away using a genetic seal. Only royal blood can unlock it. The data, the weapons, the vaults, they need me alive. But they can't let me speak. Ryan felt a chill in his spine. You mean someone is still trying to find you? She nodded. They always are. Every time I escaped, they found me. That's why I stopped running. It was easier to be silent, to be sold. No one looks too close. At slaves. Rain stared at her. It was a simple trick. Hide in plain sight. If no one knew who she really was, she became invisible. And no one ever thought a pleasure slave could be a princess. Why did you tell me? He asked quietly. She took a slow breath. Because I saw your eyes when you looked at me. You weren't looking at what I was. You were looking for who I was. Rain didn't know what to say to that. He stood, pacing the room. If what she said was true, then they couldn't stay on this route. The trade path was watched. Someone might scan her face, her heat signature, her blood. He needed to hide her, and fast. I know a place, he said finally. An old moon base I used once. No networks, no signals. You can rest there while I figure out what to do. Zirea gave a small nod. If you wish to leave me there, I understand. Rain turned back, almost offended. I didn't buy you. To abandon you. You don't owe me anything. No, he agreed. But I think someone should. For the first time, a small, tired smile touched her lips. Outside the ship, the stars moved on. Quiet, cold, endless. But inside the little vessel, something new had started. A girl with no name. A man with no plan. But between them, a fragile thread was beginning to form, made not of duty, not of debt, but of belief. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to challenge a galaxy. The moon base looked dead from orbit. No lights, no signals, nothing but dust and jagged stone. It was the perfect hiding place. Rain landed his ship beside an old cargo bay that hadn't been opened in years. He helped Zireya down the ramp, carefully. Her legs were stronger now, her steps more steady, but she still walked like a ghost, silent, watching everything, never trusting fully. Rain guided her inside the rusted doors, down metal halls full of broken lights and dead air. The old solar batteries kicked in slowly, flickering on one by one. "It's not much," he said, "but no one comes here anymore. It's safe." Zireya stepped past him into the center room, where the walls were covered in wires, parts, and glowing scraps Rain had collected over the years. She didn't say anything. Her fingers ran lightly across a half-repaired control panel like she was searching for something. Then, without warning, she began to hum, a strange melody, soft and low. Rain turned to her, frowning. "What is that song?" Zireya's eyes stayed distant. "My mother sang it to me. It's part of the royal code." "The what?" She looked at him now. Every true Valari carries pieces of the Empire's heart in their voice, their rhythm. It's how we passed messages, commands, secrets. The codes weren't just written. They were felt. Rain blinked. "You mean it's encrypted in songs?" "Yes. In tone, in breath, in heartbeat." Her voice became softer. Each generation carried a different part. Only when one feels the whole can they awaken the crown. Rain stared at her, trying to understand, but it sounded more like poetry than science. Still, she didn't look like she was lying. And in her hum, he felt something strange, like the ship itself had paused to listen. He pulled out his datapad and ran a quick scan on the tune she was singing. When the results came back, his breath caught. The pattern matched an ancient Valari signal, one thought extinct, a security key only used by high command. He looked at her again. "You weren't lying." Zireya just sat down on the cold floor and closed her eyes. "I wish I had been." Rain watched her in silence for a moment. He remembered all the rumors from when he was a child. The Valari Empire had fallen in fire and light. The royal palace had vanished in a single night. Some said the crown exploded to keep secrets safe. Others whispered that one child had escaped. Everyone assumed it was just myth, like fairy tales. But the myth was now sitting on his floor, with dirty feet and a bruised face, humming songs that opened encrypted locks. Zireya opened her eyes slowly. "I keep dreaming about them," she said. "My brothers, the halls of the palace, the golden light on the columns. And then the shadows would come, and I would hide in the cold tunnels while everything above me burned." Rain didn't know what to say. What could anyone say to a girl who had watched her world end and had survived only by becoming invisible? "I used to wear a crown," she said softly. "Not of gold, but woven threads of light. It moved when I breathed. It sang with me. The palace walls responded to it, everything did. The empire wasn't just buildings, it was alive." Rain sat down beside her. "What happened to it? The crown?" "They destroyed it," she whispered, "and with it the bond between my people and our world. That's why they hunt me. Because if I can remember enough, if I sing enough, I might wake something they thought was dead." Rain felt cold, despite the warming lights above. And what would that something do? Zireya looked him in the eye. "It would change the balance, power would shift. The ones who rule now, corrupt councils, slave kings, war merchants, they'd fall." Rain leaned back, processing everything. He had never planned to be involved in anything like this. He was just a salvager, a pilot scraping by on old parts and empty jobs. But now he'd picked up something dangerous, something sacred. "You don't have to help me," she said quietly. "You can leave me here. I understand." Rain looked at her, really looked. This girl, this princess, was no longer a prisoner. She was something else now. A living memory, a key, and maybe a fire ready to burn. He stood, If they're going to come, he said, then let them. But next time they won't find you alone. For the first time, her lips curved into a small smile. In the dark, silent moon base, two people sat with nothing but broken machines, forgotten walls, and one song that might wake the past. And somewhere, in the stars, someone had just noticed she was missing. The silence didn't last. On the fourth day at the moon base, Rain picked up a signal. It was faint. No words, no location ping. But the pattern chilled him. It wasn't random. It was a pulse, repeating every 13 seconds like sonar through space. Someone was searching and narrowing in. He shut off every beacon, blocked transmissions, and powered the ship down, but it was too late. They had found her trail, and they were coming. Zireya sat quietly near the back of the control room, watching his face as he scanned the incoming pattern again and again. "It's them, isn't it?" she asked softly. Rain nodded. "I don't know who. Could be bounty hunters, could be ex-Imperial agents, but it's someone that doesn't care about survivors. They want silence. Permanent silence." Zireya didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed calm, focused. "Then we run." Rain gave her a strange look. "You were ready to stay here forever. What changed?" "You," she said. "You believed me. That changes everything." Rain didn't respond. He moved fast, loading gear, checking the ships, shields double-sealing the atmospheric seals. They had maybe 2 hours. Less if the ship had stealth tech. His old freighter wasn't built for outrunning war-class chasers, but it had one advantage. It was forgettable. Dust-colored, weak engine trails, and no transponder tags. He hoped that was enough. As they prepared for launch, Zireya touched the main screen. "This pattern, it's not just a search," she said slowly. "They're tracking a heartbeat." Rain frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked at him. "My kind, the royal line. Our biosignal is unique. It's not just blood, it's rhythm. It hums beneath our skin. Machines can't copy it, but if they had a sample, even a memory trace, then they could find you." She nodded. "They already did." Rain cursed under his breath and pushed the engines into start mode. "Then we'll have to burn that trail. We jump systems, get off the grid, disappear into the old belts." Zireya closed her eyes. "There's one place they won't follow." "Where?" "The graveyard planet. Varnak 6. Rain froze. "That's suicide. They won't enter it. They're afraid of the dead. That planet eats ships." She opened her eyes. "It also holds the last temple of Valari. If I reach it, I can stop the signal." Rain's hands tightened on the controls. "Fine. But if we go there, you better have a way out." She didn't promise. She only placed her hand over the metal wall beside her and whispered something in a strange language. For a second, a small light glowed from her skin. The ship's lights flickered in response, just a blink, like a breath between stars. "What was that?" he asked. "Calling an old friend," she said. "If he still remembers me." Rain didn't ask further. He launched the ship, blasting away from the moon's surface just as a dark triangle-shaped vessel dropped out of light jump above them. The chase began. The sky behind them burned. Rain's ship rocked from side to side as plasma shots raced past the hull. Shields screamed. The chaser was faster, sleeker, a true hunter class. It didn't bother to send warnings. It didn't care about prisoners. It fired to kill. Zireya held tight to her seat, watching the stars blur outside. "That ship, it belongs to the ones who betrayed my father. The Crimson Blades." Rain gritted his teeth. "Figures. They don't take contracts. They take orders." He twisted the ship into a spiral and hit the Wormgate drive. The ship jerked forward into the vortex and everything turned to light. When they came out the other side, it was dark again. Varnak 6 spun below them, black and gray with storms swirling over its surface. The planet looked cursed. Dozens of wrecked ships orbited it like broken bones. Rain stared at it. "We're actually doing this," Zareya stood. This is where I stop running. They descended through the storm layers, lightning flashing against the glass. The ship groaned but held. When they landed, the ground shook with a low, distant sound, like something deep beneath the surface had felt them arrive. Rain stepped out first, blaster ready. Zareya followed, walking barefoot across the ash-covered soil. In the distance stood stone spires, half-buried ruins, and a structure shaped like a crown made of metal and bone. She whispered, "That's the heart gate." "And what's behind it?" Everything they tried to erase. Rain looked up at the sky. The crimson blades hadn't followed. Not yet, but they would. He turned to her. "Whatever you do in there, do it fast." Zareya nodded. Then she walked toward the temple, her thin frame glowing faintly in the stormlight. And Rain knew this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about truth, rising from the ashes, and it would not go quietly. The heart gate stood silent, carved from ancient alloys, its tall arch split down the center like it was waiting to open, but only for the right blood. Zareya walked slowly toward it, the wind pulling her silver hair around her face. The storm behind them raged, but inside the circle of stones everything was still, like time had been waiting. Rain followed at a distance, his blaster drawn, eyes scanning for danger. The ruins around them whispered with ghost memories, shipwrecks half buried in the sand, broken mechs rusting with moss, and tall statues of figures long erased from the galaxy's history. Zareya stopped before the gate and placed her hand on its center. A low chime rang out and golden lines began to pulse from her palm like vines of light. The metal responded to her touch, unfolding slowly, layer by layer, as if the machine recognized its maker. Rain stepped closer, amazed. "How is it doing that?" Zareya didn't look away. "The Valari built everything with living metal. It responds to energy, memory, and blood. But not just any blood. Only those bound to the crown." A sudden flash of light surrounded her, scanning every cell of her body. Rain flinched but didn't interfere. Then the gate spoke. Not in a language he knew, but in vibrations that made his skin tingle and his vision blur. Zareya closed her eyes and whispered something back. The gate answered. It opened. Inside was a chamber filled with suspended crystals, each glowing faintly with blue fire. At the center floated a strange chair, part throne, part machine, all alive. Zareya stepped forward and sat down, her face calm but pale. The crystals began to shift, forming a ring around her. They pulsed like heartbeats. Rain watched from the doorway, unsure if he should enter. Then the ship's AI, normally silent, buzzed through his comm. Unregistered genetic field detected. Alert. Class 9 biolock in process. "What does that mean?" Rain whispered. "Her DNA is activating something ancient. Something massive." Zareya suddenly screamed, but didn't move. Her eyes lit up, and light shot from her fingertips into the crystal array. Rain rushed forward but couldn't get close. A field of energy blocked him. Then a voice boomed through the chamber. Not hers, not his. A deep, echoing voice that sounded like it came from the bones of the planet. "Royal blood accepted. Genetic key located. Awakening final memory. Seed." Suddenly, one of the crystals shattered, and in its place appeared a projection. A man with golden eyes wearing the same light-threaded crown Zareya had described. He smiled gently at her. "My daughter," the recording said, "if you are hearing this, then the Valari are gone, and you are the last." Zareya's lips trembled. "Father," the projection continued, "you carry the last key. Within your blood is the legacy of our people, the records of our science, and the location of the last vault. It is not a weapon, but a choice. You can awaken the Valari way again, or destroy it so no one can abuse it ever again." Rain stepped closer, stunned. "She's not just a survivor," he whispered. "She's the lock and the key." As the message ended, Zareya gasped and collapsed from the chair. The throne dimmed. The crystals floated silently once more. Rain ran forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was burning hot, her breath short. "I'm fine," she said weakly. "It gave me everything. The codes, the vaults, map, even the names of the ones who betrayed us." Rain helped her up. "What now?" Zereya looked at him. Her eyes no longer held just pain. They held fire. "Now we finish it." Before they could leave the chamber, Rain's comm hissed again. "Warning, hostile signal detected. Crimson Blade vessel has entered orbit." Rain swore. "They're here." Zereya stood tall. "Let them come." He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the exit. "No, we run now. You've got the truth. You've got the key. But if they catch you, they'll take it and bury it again. We can't let that happen." They raced through the ruins back toward the ship, just as the sky cracked open. A sharp beam of red light struck the far end of the ruins, sending debris flying. The Crimson Blades were already landing troops. Rain turned on the engines while Zereya climbed aboard. The moment the ship lifted off, 3 enemy fighters chased after them. But something was different now. Zereya didn't look afraid. She moved to the front console, her fingers glowing faintly, and touched the ship's nav core. The moment she did, the ship surged forward faster than Rain thought possible. He stared at the dash. "You just upgraded my ship?" She smirked. "No, I just asked it nicely." Behind them, the Crimson fighters vanished into the clouds, and ahead the path to the last vault waited. The stars felt heavier now. Every jump through space carried more than just 2 passengers. It carried the weight of a fallen empire, the final pieces of a legacy nearly forgotten. Rain sat in the pilot seat, but it was Zereya who guided the path. Her hands glowed faintly as they hovered over the navigation panel, feeding it coordinates no map had ever shown. Her voice spoke softly to the ship in ancient Valari tongue, and somehow it obeyed. Every time she touched a system, it worked faster, smoother, like the ship remembered her people, and had waited to serve once more. Rain had seen a lot in his years: pirates, dying planets, black hole storms, but nothing like this. Zereya was changing. Not just healing, she was growing brighter, more sure. No longer the fragile girl from the cage, no longer silent. She sat upright, eyes steady, body stronger. She had awakened something deep within herself, and it was guiding them to the one place she had feared for years, the throne room. The ship entered a part of space few dared cross, between collapsing stars and dead systems. Ahead lay a massive asteroid field, and beyond it, hidden within the shadows, floated a structure so massive it looked like a broken moon. The Valari Royal Ark, what little history remained, called it the Crown Ship. It had vanished the day the HFY Empire fell. Now it stood before them, scarred by time and war, but not destroyed. It was waiting. "This is it?" Rain asked, watching the massive doors open slowly as if pulled by breath alone. Zereya nodded. "The heart of everything. My home. My father's last command post. Where I was born, and where I must return." Rain piloted the ship carefully, through the entrance bay. Inside was complete silence, no lights, no guards, just a great hollow chamber surrounded by golden walls etched with glowing script. The moment Zereya stepped out, the ship's engines powered down by themselves. Lights blinked on across the hangar. The Crown Ship was awakening. They moved deeper through the halls, tall corridors lined with statues of rulers long gone, their faces calm and proud. As they walked, small drones floated out of the walls, scanning Zereya but not attacking. Instead, they followed her like children reunited with their mother. She whispered back to them, and they chirped happily. "Creepy little things," Rain muttered. "They remember loyalty," she said softly. "That's more than I can say for most beings in the galaxy." At the end of the hallway stood a massive door with the Valari crest, a star surrounded by 7 points of light. Zereya placed her hand in the center. The door melted open like water, revealing the throne room. Rain stepped inside and forgot how to breathe. The room was endless, the ceiling a dome filled with stars that shifted and glowed. In the center sat the throne, not made of stone or metal but woven light. It pulsed like a living heart. The floor beneath it was cracked, scorched by old battles. Burn marks trailed to the walls where parts of the room were blown apart. There had been a fight here, one final stand before everything fell. Zireya walked slowly to the throne and stopped before it. She didn't sit. She simply stared. Rain moved beside her. This is where it ended? She nodded. This is where they betrayed us. My uncle led the final attack. My father thought he'd come to help defend, but he brought the crimson blades with him. My brothers died here. My mother sealed me in a stasis pod beneath the palace. I never saw this room again, until now. She touched the edge of the throne. It responded, glowing gold beneath her fingertips. The walls came alive, projecting a replay of that final day. Holograms showed screaming guards, fire tearing across the room, ships crashing outside. Then came the image of her uncle, face twisted in rage, declaring the royal line broken. Zireya watched in silence as her father's final stand played out in glowing light. He knelt before the throne, his last words clear. As long as one of us lives, the heart of Velari will never die. The throne then flashed once, bright and sudden. And in that moment, Rain realized, Zireya wasn't here to rule. She was here to end it. She turned to Rain. The vault's location is inside the throne's core. I can unlock it now, but once I do, there's no going back. Every faction will know it's been reactivated. It will start a war. Rain looked at her. Then let's finish what they started. She nodded, stepped forward, and placed both hands on the throne. Light exploded from the center, pouring across the walls, the floor, the air. Symbols danced like fireflies, and then a voice, deep and clear, echoed across the chamber. Last air confirmed, vault route restored, galactic beacon active. Rain's eyes widened. Wait, galactic beacon? Zireya's voice shook. They'll all know where I am now. And somewhere far above, ships turned their attention, because the lost princess had returned, and she wasn't hiding anymore. The beacon had been lit, and the galaxy responded with fire. Within an hour, multiple war signals lit up Rain's screen. Ships, dozens of them, rushed toward the coordinates like vultures chasing a wounded star. The Crimson Blades came first, followed by hired fleets, bounty hunters, and old enemies of the Velari Empire. Each of them wanted one thing, to either claim Zireya or erase her from existence before she could rise. Inside the throne room, alarms began to pulse in low warning tones, but Zireya stood calm at the center, light still glowing from her hands. Rain ran toward her. We have to go now. They'll blast this entire station to dust just to keep the vault from being found. Zireya didn't flinch. I'm not running anymore. I've run for too long. Her voice wasn't the voice of a slave. It was no longer soft or scared. It was firm, filled with ancient memory and a strength born from survival. The crown ship responded to her resolve. The glowing walls began shifting, forming patterns like armor around the throne. A pillar rose behind her, revealing the location of the vault, hidden within the asteroid core beneath them. She turned toward Rain. Take this key, she said, pulling a glowing orb from the air. It will open the vault's gate even if I don't make it. Rain shook his head. I'm not leaving you. You might not have a choice. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the floor. The main screen flashed red. Warning, boarding parties. Inbound, Crimson Blades breaching central hull. Rain tightened his grip on his blaster. Then we fight. Zireya nodded once, and her fingertips lit with energy again. This time, not from fear, but from memory. The old systems obeyed. From hidden compartments, defense turrets slid out of the walls. Drones powered up. The crown ship's last breath of war was about to be exhaled. The battle began in brutal flashes. Rain fought in the main corridor, side by side with floating defense orbs. He wasn't a soldier, but he fought like someone with nothing to lose. Crimson Blades poured in, armored and ruthless, but the ship's traps slowed them down. Meanwhile, Zereya moved toward the vault chamber. Below, following the map glowing under her skin, she whispered to the ship as she walked, each word unlocking ancient doors, each step echoing with purpose. But then, she heard him, a voice from her past. Zereya. The word dragged across the walls like poison. You were never meant to survive. She froze. Ahead of her, in the ruins of the vault gate, stood a tall figure dressed in black robes. His face was marked with old Valari lines, but his eyes were wrong, cold, empty. Betrayal. Uncle, she said. He smirked. My niece. You were always too curious. Now look at you, thinking you can rule again. I don't want the throne, she replied. I want truth. I want peace for the dead. He raised his hand, revealing a weapon shaped like a bone blade. Then die with them. He lunged. Zereya didn't move away. She moved through, spinning, channeling energy from her, palms into a wave of force that slammed into him. But he was strong. He had been part of the crown too. Their powers clashed, lighting up the chamber with surges of power as old as the stars. Sparks flew. The ground cracked. Still, she stood. Up above, Rain fought his way back down. He heard the blasts. He followed the screams. When he reached the vault room, he found Zereya on her knees, breathing hard, her uncle standing over her. You were just a broken girl, the man hissed. Sold, chained, forgotten. You will never be anything again. Rain didn't wait. He fired. The shot hit the traitor's back, sending him stumbling forward. Zereya looked up and used her last strength to release a shockwave of light from her chest. It wasn't just energy. It was memory. All her pain, all her fear, all her love and loss, woven into one final, radiant strike. The man screamed, and then there was silence. He was gone. Rain ran to her side, catching her as she fell. Zereya! Zereya, stay with me, she smiled weakly. You believed me when no one else did. I'm not letting you die now. You won't have to. Her hand reached out to the vault gate. The orb in Rain's pocket floated out, glowing and merged with the gate's center. The doors opened. Inside was not gold, not weapons, but a living garden, preserved from a lost world. The last piece of Valari, a seed for a new beginning. Rain stared in awe. Zereya whispered, it was never about power. It was about hope. Now, it's free. Then she passed out. Weeks later, the galaxy changed. The story of the lost princess spread like fire. The crown ship vanished once more, but this time it was not hiding. It became a sanctuary. The vault's secrets were used to heal, to build, not to conquer. Rain stayed at her side. He never asked for reward. He only kept the promise he made, to never leave her behind. And Zereya, she was never bought again. She was never silent again. She was a princess, reborn, not in chains, but in choice.